Hello, everybody. It's HisLookHerLook here, week number 2, our second video.
Sure.
No, it is. It's our second video.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, because we did that other one about that game that we got 3/4 of the way through and then it was evil. So, yeah. Today, we are taking a look at something completely different. An entirely different system, an entirely different gaming experience. Something that relates a little bit more to us on a personal level because normally this is how we game unless it's something super cutesy.
Yep.
So, which is ironic because the people who made this game also made something super cutesy. Today we are talking about on the PS4, only on the PS4, we checked, Until Dawn.
Yep. So, this game was made by Supermassive, who did Little Big Planet 1 and 2.
Yep.
So, I didn't really expect it to be that scary.
You're a liar.
No, I didn't expect it to be that scary.
I jumped several times.
Yes, but you don't like horror movies.
I don't.
I love horror movies.
I don't.
And this was literally like watching a horror movie.
That's a beautifully apt way to describe it. Playing it is like you are in control of a B-rated 80s horror movie. Think like Friday the 13th, think like Halloween, Scream. In the beginning.
Yeah, and then it turns into a really bad sci-fi horror movie?
No, think more like an episode of Supernatural, if you've ever seen that TV show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, no, Chiller Channel did a couple like that.
I wouldn't know.
I would.
Anyway, so, yeah, Until Dawn. This has a fantastic story. Actually, it's really well done. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like a. You ever seen Mammoth on Sci-Fi? Back when it was, before it was cool with the Y in the Sci-Fi, like it was, CSI. SCI-FI? Sci-Fi? That Sci-Fi?
You ever see Attack of the Killer Clowns from Mars?
No. Why? It involves clowns. That would give me nightmares. I haven't seen It. I can make it through halfway through the book of It before I get freaked out.
This game is really well done.
Yes.
But there are a few campy moments.
Well, and that's to be expected. To be
Yeah.
fair, because it adds humor and makes you laugh and makes you want to continue playing the game and, after you've cleaned out your soiled jeans.
And another thing that actually makes you really want to play it again is there's three major different endings.
The claim to fame on this was that it totally was a butterfly effect game, meaning that anything you did, and to an extent, they actually did a really good job with this, because every game I've played that claims to have this branching story type thing has definitely not delivered, at least not to a scale such as this. So you're talking about you make decisions, and because of decisions you make with one... Okay, let's start over. When you play this game, there are 8 main characters, right? 8? 1, 2, 3, 4...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
yes.
7.
There are 8 main characters.
Well...
7 main characters that you play as, 8 main characters to the story. And there are different sections of the game. It's broken up into chapters. So you'll play a chapter... You'll go to this really creepy therapy session where the game actually judges what you're afraid of and how you're reacting to the game, and then tailors the rest of the game to that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you play as 7 characters, and so each chapter is broken up into an individual character's perspective. So you're playing as that character, you're experiencing what they're experiencing in that moment, which is really cool because you're seeing the whole story unfold from different perspectives, but you're not actually, you're aware of what certain characters know and what certain characters don't know, which is really I need a cool way to illustrate the story. So that's that. But what was I saying?
I have no clue.
That's helpful. We were talking about playing the game and having different characters' perspectives.
And different endings.
And different endings, right. So, excuse me. So, things you do as one particular character will affect the path of another character down the road in a different chapter. Like, because you chose to hide this item here, this person can now use it as they're being chased, for example. It's something like that. Now, it's not all that intensive and that extensive, but it is cool how each different choice you make affects the other characters'
It's
arc.
not all that intensive and extensive.
Well, not every choice.
There is one moment where if you don't give the correct character a flare gun,
I don't think half of the
someone
internet...
else will die.
I don't think half of the internet still has figured that mystery out, because that one's a complicated one, because you don't know who to give it to. If you give it to someone, you give it to someone, but it's very misleading, because if you give it to another person, they don't use it at that particular time, but if you give it to this person, they use it, like, immediately, and you're like, well, why did I give it to you?
Yeah.
It's very misleading.
And...
But intentionally so, it's not, it's not a... It's an aggravation, but only in terms of interpreting the game's dialogue to you as to say, how should I do this? It's the way you interpret the clues. So each person reacts to it differently, but that causes each person to have a different, impact on what they're doing.
And speaking of those clues, those are really, really, really great.
Yeah.
Like, they're vague enough, but they're not quite too vague. Like... If you're paying attention and watch the clues like 12 times over, you're going to know exactly who it is, exactly what's happening, and as you play, you'll be able to figure out exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Without it being too, don't do this or this is going to happen.
We also apologize for the vagueness of this episode. The whole story is kind of vague, and each chapter is very vague until you kind of piece everything together towards the end. We're also trying to avoid spoilers.
As much as possible.
We realize this game's been out for a long, long time, but we are fans of the once a spoiler, always a spoiler motto, just in case there are people who haven't played it yet, who are thinking about playing it, or have had it on their list for a long time, like my Steam list, which is ridiculously long. Like over 100 games, and I've only played like 30 of them. It's kind of upsetting.
If that.
So... Right. Running down the list, all the cast is very well done. So you have the 7 characters. You have Sam, Mike, Chris, Ashley, Emily, and Matt, and Jess. 7. I can count. And they're all acted very well. The way they did this actually was really cool. They did motion capture, like they did for Avatar, like they did for a couple other games that I've seen. Heavy Rain is very, very influenced by Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls.
I thought this came out before those.
No. Those came out. Well, those were on PS3.
Oh, yeah, they were.
Yeah.
But, the mocap on this is beautiful.
There's some extras in the game, provided you collect enough things, and there are plenty of collectibles to collect. There are plenty of what are called totems, which is another really cool feature of the game.
Which are the clues?
Well, no. There are clues that reveal the mystery of what's going on in the mountain. There are clues that reveal what's going on with the actual story of the game. And then there are totems, which you run around and pick up, which have, there are 5 categories. There's danger, death, fortune, guidance, and loss?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you explore, and as you go around, there are plenty of opportunities to explore this cabin in the woods that you're in, to explore the mountain that you're on, and you can walk around and stuff, and you find them and you pick them up. And for example, say it's a guidance, it will show you a clip of a scene that hasn't happened yet, like a chapter that maybe 2 or 3 chapters down the road, or a scene from 2 or 3 chapters down the road, and you can look at it and it'll say, okay, based on this video I'm watching, should I maybe not do a thing? Should I maybe do a thing? It helps you kind of figure out what you need to do as that specific character. Not necessarily maybe even in that chapter you're in, but...
Well, it actually doesn't even matter if it's that specific character.
Right. I mean, it also illustrates, the Lost Ones, you have chances to... you see how people die, so you have a chance to avoid it.
Because there's one that you get is, Mike? There is all about Emily?
Yeah. There are several, for specific characters, that are activated or picked up by completely different characters. So you can see it and you can go, oh, well, that's definitely that character, so I'll have to pay attention to what I'm doing as that character to avoid that, or to cause that, or so on and so forth. It's a really great story. The twist is actually really well done. I mean, I liked it. I've got a favorable opinion of it. I know some people out there are very upset. They're like, well, this is really too linear and not branchy enough. And I'm like, for what they did, you can replay it several times and get several different endings, and it's very cool.
And while the twist is really good, if you're paying attention and you know horror movies, you can figure it out.
You'll spot it from a mile away.
Yeah.
But...
Well, let's rephrase this. You'll spot the first twist. The second twist...
She actually didn't spot it.
That's where it got a little sci-fi. That's where it got a little campy monster movie. But...
Which is cool.
That's the one
I don't do
You
horror
aren't
movies.
expecting.
I should preface this for you guys. I don't do horror movies. I was forced to sit down and watch The Woman in Black by my friend. Friend. he's a dear good. Shout out to Robbie. Anyway, so he sat me down and was like, "All right, you need to watch this movie. You'll get through it fine." And to be honest, from a horror person's perspective, you would say, "What, wasn't that bad? It was mostly jump scares.
Yeah,
It wasn't something horrible." I watched that movie, and the entire time I was cowering behind a blanket, sitting in my chair, clutching a pillow, and honestly, here's why I don't do horror movies, feeling like I was having or going to have a heart attack the entire time. And not like, oh, I'm getting scared, this is fun, it's scary. I felt like I was having a heart attack. It wasn't fun.
Needless to say, we had to do this game in increments of what? Half a chapter?
No, I did a chapter ago.
He could manage a chapter.
I did a chapter. If it got good and I got... See, here's the thing. If you sit down and you get invested in it, you get invested in the characters, you'll go a little bit further each time you play. Because let me tell you, there's some jump scares where you want to put down the controller and you're like, no, I'm stopping right now.
And while I like horror movies and horror games, I can't play them because the jump scares make me throw controllers.
We almost lost the TV that way.
No, my friend almost lost his computer.
That too.
Dead Space.
Oh, that was fun. I got a story involving that, but that's for another time. Anyway, so I played that and I liked that, so I knew I could kind of handle this. And that one was more action. If they're more action-y, I can do it. Like Resident Evil 5, that's fun to me. I love that. But like Resident Evil 4, no.
Eventually, I'll get him to play Silent Hill.
You're funny. So, for the 5th time. Anyway, we enjoyed it. I loved it. You can totally play it. Like I said, if you get invested in it, and you will because the story's really good, you'll keep playing longer and longer. I got to a point where I was playing 2-3 chapters at a time because I wanted to see how the story ended. I was very interested in it. And you get over the jump scares, and you actually, I wouldn't say you learn to spot them, but you learn to expect them based on certain atmospheric things. And not to say that it's always like, oh, the music is doing this, so there's going to be one here. It's not the way it is. But you get a feeling based on as you're walking through each environment, okay, it's this kind of area, there might be one here soon, stuff like that.
But what was really cool about the characters is, as was pointed out to me a few minutes ago actually, they're all stereotypical of a campy horror movie.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't pick up on that until I just told you that.
Well, I didn't make the connection.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally stylized in the beginning to be an 80s. It feels like an 80s horror movie. You are playing one of the characters in an 80s horror movie as the intro. It's great. It's fantastic. Okay, so the basic plot of this, without giving anything away, is there is a party that happens on this mountain between a group of friends. And there's 2 sisters and a brother.
Twins.
The
sisters are.
Twins, the sisters are, and their brother, whose family owns this mansion. And the party's getting a little crazy. It's getting later in the evening. No one else is supposed to be on the mountain except them. The family's even flown away for the weekend, so they have the mountain to themselves. Crazy party, college antics, because no one questions semantics in an 80s horror movie.
And like always happens, the really innocent character gets a prank played on them.
A la Carrie. And there are a lot of different nods to horror movies in this. This was really well done. There's a lot of different pointers. You can be like, oh, I see where they got that idea from. That's kind of cool.
So something happens and the really innocent one runs off into the woods.
So it's a prank. And the Mike, who is...
Well, don't give it away.
Well, I'm not... Okay. Anyway, one of them is like, hey, you should come to the room with me at 2 in the morning and we'll get down and do some jiggy stuff. And then the prank happens.
And the one that does that is obviously the douchebag character.
So he runs. The sister runs outside. The other sister runs outside to help her. Everyone's like, "Oh, it was just a prank. Don't worry about it." High school, college. They're about college age.
I don't know.
Anyway. So she runs out in the woods. The opening and tutorial of the game is you running through the woods after her, trying to find her. Different choices. Like, it presents you without feeling like a tutorial, but it presents you with the tutorial. Like, this is how you choose to go one way or the other. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. This is how you pick up items and inspect them, stuff like that.
And in this game, there are quick time events,
which
makes it really, really interesting when you're already panicked Because,
You're like,
oh
well,
god, you're
What do I
running.
do? What do I do? A button. Like, they do a really good job building up the atmosphere and making you feel like there's a lot of tension and a lot of high stakes involved, and then they throw quick time events on top of it, and you're like, oh, if I don't do this right at this moment, this character could die. And there are actual moments, which I was very impressed that they had the gumption to do this within this game. There are actual moments where you are running from something, or you are running in the wilderness trying to avoid something, and if you press the wrong button, your character will die. That's what I like about this game.
In a very, very beautifully violent way.
Yeah, like, there is an ending that you can get where everybody dies. All the main characters die. There's an ending. There's an ending where they all live.
And at the end, they just find all of the bodies.
Yeah, and then there's an ending where they all live, and then there's an ending where some of them die and some of them live. And that's what we say about the
three major
effects. Because you can say that there's a butterfly effect and there's a million other different endings, and technically you're right, but it just depends on who lives and who dies, and more specifically, the variants get shown in the end as the police come to the scene after everything has happened the
and
next
then there's
day.
an end credit scene, which is kind of cool. It's interviews with the characters that survived.
Yeah, so you can kind of get different endings that way too, which is pretty neat. And there's actually a definite alternate ending with the main antagonist and the final twist that goes on.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
So if the main antagonist ends up dying during the game, there's one ending, and if he survives, there's another.
Well, and there's also a big thing hinging on whether or not the other big bad recognizes that antagonist. And that itself is a big twist, which is pretty cool. So, let's see, what else have we covered? What have we not covered? What else do you want to discuss? What else do you want to say?
I don't know.
We've covered the twists, we've covered the characters, we've covered the stereotypes. Did we cover the stereotypes?
Well, we sort of did.
So
because you've got your cheerleader.
Think of Friday the 13th, think of classic Nightmare on Elm Street, classic horror movie. Like, okay, so you've got the jock.
Well,
you've got the...
Well, let's go down in order of our list, or down in order of who can die.
Okay. So Sam.
Well, you have the first two characters that you're really introduced to are the twins, Hannah and Beth. And Hannah is the really innocent one that gets the prank pulled on her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Beth is the concerned one you're just looking for.
Yes.
So
that calls everybody else out on being, complete asses.
Right.
So those two obviously do not make it in the first little bit.
No spoilers. Like
you're expecting it.
It's the catalyst for the story. Like I was saying, the event happens at this party where and I'm telling you straight up, they both die. That's what happens. You play their death. No matter what you choose at that moment, they both die. So the whole thing is that this event happens. They both die. A search is called off after a while for their bodies because their bodies go missing. Search is called off for a while after their bodies go missing, and then a year later, it's a year later. It's exactly a year later. Their
older brother, Josh,
says, "Let's have a party again in remembrance of them. Let's do this for them. It'll be a big memorial thing. We'll get drunk. We'll have beer." I think the very famous quote from the game is, "We're gonna party like porn stars." Yeah, he's a little odd. But it's supposed to be touching. He's doing this thing. They're going to get together for the sisters, and it'll be like all the friends who were there that night will get together, and they'll remember, and they'll move on, and it'll be touching.
And Josh is your stereotypical, not all there, affected by the deaths, and
he's kind of...
You're a little bit creeped out by him.
But he's not, like, it's almost endearing because it's from a place of caring.
Like, you really want to feel bad.
He's very affected by what happened.
But then he's a little bit too creepy.
Well, his sisters died, so it threw him off a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you have Sam, who is the one as quoted as getting along best with Josh. She is the leading lady.
Well, she was supposed to be Hannah's best friend.
Right. So she's what you would classify in the original stereotypes as the leading lady.
Normally the cheerleader.
Some would even say the final girl. She's very cheerleader. She's played by Hayden Panettiere. Very well done. All these actors that I've heard listing off were motion captured. They're full face. Right? They acted everything in this game.
You have a list of all of the actors?
Yeah, I can get it.
Because I didn't write that down.
I told you to write it down.
Well, I didn't. Too bad.
I understand that. It's fine.
But so you have Sam, who's the cheerleader aspect, and then you have Mike. Mike is your typical douche.
He's a mix between jock and bully. He's a little bit of a mix, but if you're going traditional, he's the douche. He's the bully.
Very much.
He is played by.
But he's also the pretty boy. He's the girl. Everybody. He's the boy. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. He is played by Brett Dalton.
And
very well done.
He's the boy that all the girls want to be with, but he's a real douche. Yeah. There's no other way to phrase it. Then you have Chris, who is the nerdy McNerd.
He's like I kind of like this girl, but I don't want to tell her. No, I can't talk to you about sex. That's too,
awkward.
Yeah.
He is done by...
Noah Fleiss. I think that's right. Noah Fleiss. Yeah. That's the right name. I wasn't sure of the pronunciation. He does a commendable job, and all these guys do. They do a fantastic job. They really sell the story. It's really
They had to act out their own deaths, guys.
They had to act out their own deaths. They had to act out
multiple times,
being scared and chased, everything. They filmed everything for this game using motion capture and sets, which I love when games do that. They did that for the Uncharted series, stuff like that. It makes it feel more real, definitely.
But then you have Ashley. And Ashley is your typical virgin.
She would be the virgin in the original stereotypes.
Your typical virgin.
She's played by Galadriel Steinman. Very well done. She's very awkward, but not too... she's very vulnerable. She plays it very nice.
Then you have Emily, who is your typical bitch.
She's played by Nicole Bloom.
Only she's slightly less typical because she's the token Asian as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of mixing of stereotypes, too, which is cool. It makes you think about things in a new way. And what's cool about this is, as soon as you start the game, every introduction to the characters solidifies them in your mind when you start playing as these stereotypes.
Yeah.
And then as you go through the story, they change because of what goes on in the story and how you affect it, which is really cool. So, yes, Emily is Nicole Bloom.
Then you have Matt. He is your token black guy. But he's also the athlete. And he's the nice athlete.
He's very cool, very compassionate, very caring, but also cares about what other people think. At the beginning of the game, he is dating Emily, who used to date Mike. So there's a bit of contention there.
So the douche and the bitch were together, and then they split, and the bitch is now dating the really sweet token black guy athlete.
Right. We are totally going to have to put disclaimers in the description below, because there's children and cursing and...
Sorry, I was going to make this a little more PG.
Spoilers. Yeah.
PG-13 now!
Hey, just don't use your one F word. Everybody gets one.
Don't make me stub my toe.
Right. So
after Matt...
who is played by Jordan Fisher, by the way.
You've got Jess. And
Jessica.
Jessica? Jess is your typical slut. Slut.
She's played by Megan Martin, who's done a lot of stuff on TV, actually. She's done a lot of TV shows and stuff. She's really cool. Like I said, everybody does. I can't say enough for this cast. Everyone does a really good job and conveys the story really well.
So Josh is played by
Rami Malek. I think that's right. I want to say that that's right, but again, pronunciations.
He's been in a lot of recent movies.
And on TV recently, he's done Mr. Robot. He was in Night at the Museum, wasn't he? He was the pharaoh in the third one or the second one?
I don't remember.
The one who really wanted the tablet because it did a thing, he was that guy in that movie. I'm so sorry, Remy, if that's... As one actor to another, I know how frustrating that is.
Yeah, he's totally watching.
But we love you. If you are.
He's totally watching.
If he is, you don't know. You have no proof. Anyway.
Okay, so who played Hannah and Beth?
Hannah and Beth are played by one girl, because they're twins.
Yes.
And it was Ella Lentini. Ella Lentini.
And... yeah. So now you have the really, 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 really creepy character.
Dr. Hill.
Dr. Hill.
He is the psychologist for... really, and the what I find intriguing about the way they've done this, he is not only the psychologist for the antagonist of this
The main antagonist
of the game, he's also in these therapy sessions speaking directly to you as a player, which is a very good move on Supermassive Games' part.
And as a player, he asks you questions, and you choose a page 1 or page 2.
You have therapy sessions with this man, and because of what you choose, it dictates the flow of the rest of the game. For example, I'll give you one. There's a section where...
If you choose that you're afraid of snakes during one of these, later on, there's a snake on his desk.
In a jar.
And
if you choose you're afraid of gore, there's gore in a jar.
If you choose you're afraid of spiders, it's a spider.
If you choose you're afraid of scarecrows versus clowns, there's like later on, there's like a scarecrow in his office or clown. And what's really cool about this is as the game gets further on and you find out more and more and more of the story and you relate more with the antagonist and you find out what's going on, the office that you're in, the very first time you go see him, it's a standard therapist office. It feels like you're at an actual therapist appointment. It's legit. As the game goes on, and as the antagonist becomes further and further mentally disheveled because of what's going on, the location and the decorating of the office shifts to show each location that if you think about it, if you're analyzing the story as you play, each location...
You can almost guess who it is.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say...
Well, you can.
Well, you're right. But I was going to say... You think of the... it changes to the locations that you think he would be in.
Yeah.
Whenever the story's going down. His perspective. So. I'll be right back.
But... he's the one character that you can't quite get over. He's really, really creepy. And then there's one character. Oh, well. 1 minute. Let's see who Dr. Hill is played by.
Peter Stormare.
And then you have the stranger character.
Who...
And not to say this, not to give too much away, but to be his character, he sure died real quick.
Yeah, he did. If you know what we're talking about, you'd agree.
Like, for his character and his background, he died much quicker than he should have. Much quicker than he should have.
You know what? I don't think he's... Oh, yeah, excuse me. Larry Fessenden. Larry Fessenden plays the stranger. Fessenden. 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 Very well done. Again, very well done. And it kind of ties the supernatural and sci-fi element of the story to the 80s. It bridges the two types of movies. The sci-fi horror versus the... When I say sci-fi, it's really more supernatural horror meets the slasher flick aspect of it.
It's still a Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Still. But again, very good. I recommend it. I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
I give it a 9 out of 10.
I give it an 8 out of 10 only because I don't like horror games and there was a lot of jump scares, and you will agree that were cheap jump scares.
Well, some of them were.
I wouldn't say all of them were.
Like the rat at that one point.
Right. A lot of cheap jump scares, and then once you've played through it a bunch of times, you realize just how not branching the story is. It's a little...
I mean,
If you join the hype train, it seems lacking. If you didn't, you'll be amazed.
Well, it's got to be a little bit linear to make sure that you...
Hit all the points.
I
get it.
And that everything actually happens.
Right.
But the way it allows you to make your decisions is really what gives it that branching aspect.
For sure.
And normally there's only like 1 or 2 choices, so you can't really have too many branches,
right,
or else it's just too complicated.
For, each choice is a branch, and not every choice affects someone else, but a lot of them do.
And, I mean, there's a few choices that literally directly affect your character right at that very moment.
Right.
Which can lead to so many deaths, it's stupid.
Never grab dismembered hands when they wave at you.
Never open the trap door.
Yeah, don't open the door.
Don't open it.
If you hear something knocking from a trap door in a mine, don't open it. Be smart.
No.
Anyway, so...
Even if it sounds like your friend.
So I give it a solid 8 out of 10. You give it a 9 out of 10?
I give it a 9 out of 10.
You want to talk a little bit more about the aspect of watching it versus playing it?
Oh, this was so much fun to watch. And it wasn't just because of his reactions, although that was part of it.
It was.
But it plays, if you're watching somebody else play it, it literally plays like a movie.
Right.
You know those old Choose Your Adventure books?
It's like that.
Well, it's kind of like that, only for a movie.
When we first started playing, I said, all right, I'm going to play, and you're going to make the decisions. And then she got too paranoid and frantic, and then she was like, no, you have to start making some of the decisions. Because a lot of them happen very quickly and affect your character in very big ways. So, if there was unlimited time to choose the decision, she would make it. If there wasn't, and some of them, it's not a lot of time.
But what you can do is you can pause while you decide what you want to do.
Right, you can cheat the system that way.
And it's not really cheating the system, it's just...
That's cheating the system. That's cheating the system. I've got to make a decision. I have limited time. Pause. I have all the time in the world.
Well, maybe.
And on that note, that concludes our review of Until Dawn.
Because it's been 30 minutes already. If you stuck with us this long, go play the game.
Yeah, for sure. Go play it. Next week...
Who knows?
Who knows? It'll be mystery. Because it's a mystery toss right now.
Because we have no clue.
You guys enjoy, and see you next week. Bye-bye.